Hi, Heather. So I pick up this problem from WebAssign Quiz 5, 8. Maybe it will help you understand the composition of functions and how we're interested in the domain. So the main principle with the compositions of functions, like in this case here is f of g of x, which is fog. And this one is g of f of x, because f is the first function inside here, g is the inside or the first function. So we don't solve. We do a couple of things with compositions of functions. We either find a rule, what happens with if g is this, f is this, what will be f of g of x? What will be g of f of x, and what will be the domain? Or we decompose. So it's not an equation that we solve, find an x value or find an interval for the x value. We don't do that. Just keep that in mind. Maybe that was the confusing part for you. So let's start to do this. So f of g of x will be something like that. So I'm going to place g function first, which is here 2 over x plus 3. Now, since my f of x function is equal to 1 over x minus 3, everywhere I see x, I will be placing 2 over x plus 3, so that if I go one more step further, it will become 1 over, instead of x, because g is the inside function, we're going to plug in here 2x plus 3 minus 3. So this portion is the x here input, but however this time our input is the inside function, which is 2 over x plus 3. Okay, so let's try to simplify this. All right, so 1 over, so these guys will be gone, 2 over x. Oops. I don't know why I changed the color. All right, so keep, change, flip. That's an operation. Keep 1, change this division into multiplication, and flip 2 over x to x over 2. Right, then f of g of x, we end up with x over 2, or f of g of x, if you will, you can write 1 over 2 of x. 1 over 2x, sorry. So if we go ahead and try to find the domain of this function just by looking at the resultant function, we can say that that's negative infinity to positive infinity, because it's not a rational function. It's a linear function with a slope of 1 over 2. There's no variable on the denominator. However, that would not be right, because our inside function, g of x, is 2 over x plus 3. So inside function has a restriction that we need to consider. So x cannot be equal to 0, which means that negative infinity to 0, union 0 to positive infinity. So this purple part is the restriction for the inside function, and it will have an impact on the resultant function, which is f of g of x here. So we have solved a composition problem. We figure out what is f of g of x, one answer, and I extend the question, what is the domain of f of g of x? We also figured out is negative infinity to 0, union 0 to infinity. Okay, so those two check marks are the answers of that question. We're not solving it for something else. So we can do the same problem, again, g of f of x. Okay, so g of f of x will be, this time g will be out, f will be in, and f of x function was 1 over x minus 3, so 1 over x minus 3. Okay, what does g of x do? What was the rule of g of x? I'm bringing it back here. 2 over x, oops, plus 3, is it? Yeah, 2 over x plus 3. So what that means, everywhere I see x, now I'm going to plug in this, because that will be my input, since our inside function is now f of x. Hence, we're not solving. We're trying to compose these functions, and those two functions, by thinking that f of x is the inside one and try to see what's the resultant function. That's what we're doing. So 2 over 1 over x minus 3, right, and plus 3. Right, this is what we're doing, because what does g of x do? 2 over input, 2 over input, this is our input, plus 3. All right, so we need to simplify that. Keep, change, flip. Since this 3 is like this, 2 over, yeah, so I need to figure out what's happening here first. So then for this, keep 2, change division to multiplication, and flip it. And then I have plus 3 also. So let's see what's going to happen here. Open up this parentheses. So that will be 2x minus 6 plus 3. Then we're going to end up 2x minus 3. Okay, what did we figure out? We figure out g of f of x. If we just look at this domain without considering the inside function domain, we would say that, okay, all real numbers, which is negative infinity to positive infinity. However, that would not be correct, because we did have an inside function f of x. We need to check with the inside function domain if that inside function has a restriction. An inside function was 1 over x minus 3. Yes, it does have a restriction. X minus 3 cannot be equal to 0. X cannot be equal to 3. So the domain then will be negative infinity to 3 union 3 to infinity. This is a domain of inside function, and this is also a domain of g of f of x. So this is what we figured out. 2 check marks. We didn't solve. We figure out the domain of g of f of x and the function rule of g of f of x. Hope this helps. See ya. Bye.